from Studio 1A in Snowflake Village. You're listening to Pod Bless Kentucky.
Okay, welcome to the show. And we're back this week. Okay, a lot's been going on today. We are celebrating the healthcare bill and our small win that we got. Woohoo! And woohoo! So we're doing a little bit of extra drinking tonight. So it's been kind of fun. Dana and Sonny have had the bottle opened a little bit early tonight, and so things might get a little fun. So
we've wiped out half a bottle of vodka.
Oh my goodness! So we hope you enjoyed tonight's show. We've got a lot that's been happening this last few weeks, and I'm over here. I mean, if this was a video podcast, you'd see my hands moving around, kind of like our new communication secretary, Anthony Scaramucci. Okay, Trump announced Anthony Scaramucci joining his team early this week as he came out to. Kind of
out of the closet.
Not exactly out of the closet.
He fired Spicy.
I mean, I don't know. He has said some pretty things. What he said about Steve Bannon earlier this week.
He did fire. Did he fire Spicy or Spicy quit?
I think that's up for grabs.
Yeah,
I think. Okay, so officially.
Hey, by the way, Jordan's with us tonight.
Yeah, Jordan's with us again. We'd like to give her a big applause for her.
Woo-hoo! Jordan.
And we, as I said before, we have Dana and Sonny. So it's going to be a good podcast tonight.
Toasty Dana and Sonny.
Yeah. So, yeah, Spicer did actually resign earlier in the week.
I think we can debate whether he resigned or whether he was fired. But, I mean, they're going to say resign just because it sounds better.
Yeah. But I had a little tear.
I don't know. This is really quickly.
Melissa McCarthy. That was my tear. Melissa McCarthy is no longer going to be playing Spicy, and she was hysterical.
I have to admit, I kind of feel bad for Spicy now. I haven't felt bad for him one moment, but when you see Scaramucci in his place, you kind of feel bad.
Well, it's not exactly. He didn't actually take his place. Sarah Huckabee Sanders is still the press secretary.
Hey, by the way, Sarah Huckabee, please don't wear green again.
Yeah. Well,
don't do what?
But
she wore green and they green screened her to the end.
Yeah.
Please don't wear green again.
Now, did you see that one of the first things that the Mooch came out and said is that he's now got a hair and makeup person for Sarah to go out there. Yeah, he said, we're going to continue on with this.
He's such an ass.
No, Sarah could use a little bit of a hair and makeup person.
But
she does. I mean, to be honest, but you don't say it publicly.
Say it, but she can use it.
Yeah.
Way.
So
you don't say it though. That's right. You don't. I mean, that's rude.
Yeah, don't be an ass.
Well, Scaramucci, I mean, he's a true-blooded Italian, so he's going to speak his mind.
Scaramucci seems like he's one step away from the mob, which is horrible to say, but it's the truth.
So I honestly think the first time I saw him, I was like, man, he thinks he is way bigger than what he is. He's kind of like, I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV, so I'm going to act as
let's look
Italian
back
mobster
at
as
what
I
he
can.
actually came from. Anthony Scaramucci, up to a year ago, well, even sooner than that, he was actually promoting Democrats. He was on CNN and telling Donald Trump that he was not going to be president, that he was going to be the president of the New York Boys Club or something like that.
I don't know.
He has been
sounds gay.
He had been extremely critical of Trump up until at least.
Well, until he
got
was
hired.
elected.
Until he
And
was
the minute
actually
he was
elected.
elected, he's been vying for a place in the White House.
He's been licking
yeah.
his ass.
And I mean,
Ew.
and as of today,
Think about that.
We've heard that he wanted it so bad that it actually cost him his marriage.
Well, and the very sad thing about that is his wife filed for divorce at the beginning of July. She just had a baby on Monday, I believe, a couple of weeks premature. And, this essentially has destroyed his marriage from what, you can read in the press.
She is not a Trump fan at all.
But he has been vying for this job since January. When you look at there's
Which is crazy because he was saying such negative things about him
Right
all
up
up
until
until the
November.
Yeah,
election.
but power hungry people,
Yeah, that's very true.
he's been
Now,
pushing for it.
CNN has also found some background stuff that actually he spoke at a town hall with Obama, and he was talking about how Obama
Like
was
with
supposed
Obama was with him? Or?
well, he asked the question. He was one of the audience members, and he was asking about how the perception of Wall Street at that time. This was in 2010, and he said that Obama was giving Wall Street a bad rap, and because Anthony Scaramucci, he was not any kind of communications person. He was a hedge fund manager.
Right.
Skybridge.
And he was like saying that, that Wall Street was getting a bad name, and Obama just basically said, okay, after a tragedy like with the economy in 2008, how can these guys who made billions of dollars off of this horrible economy actually not take a beating? And by saying, hey, if you can't look at the people who like 8 million people lost their jobs.
Well, not just their jobs, their homes.
Yeah,
too.
their homes,
Yeah.
everything. And to be able to say, oh, like they're still good people. No. And Obama said, he went on for like 20 minutes in this interview and was like, hey, it is what it is. And Anthony Scaramucci who was sitting there, basically had to take it. This guy is not somebody new to politics and being viewed.
For not being new to politics, why is he so crass?
Yeah, granted, he says a lot of stupid things.
Well, it's not just crass. You can't get in front of the general public and curse right and left, and that's what he's done.
But it's an Italian thing.
It is not an Italian.
My grandmother used to say, my grandmother used to say this.
And that's another, like when I say, he pretends he was a mobster and whatever.
We're watching
fuck? Because
Goodfellas too.
Well, that's what it feels like.
But he really thinks he has to totally play that persona of an Italian mobster. He's, I'm gonna fuck that person up, and I'm gonna
fire. I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna find the leaks and I'm gonna fire.
Well, the big thing is that he said a lot of things about Priebus lately that are probably not true.
Yeah, he did say a lot of things about Priebus that basically isn't true, and so enough that there's that Reince Priebus is now not a part of the administration. He's no longer the chief advisor to the president.
Right, but we all know that there's a very good likelihood that Reince Priebus is not the leaks behind the White House.
More than likely.
But Scaramucci has accused him of that several times.
Do you know why they accuse him specifically of being the leaks?
Why do they accuse him?
Because he is the only, maybe not the only, but one of the very, very few in the Trump campaign that did not sign that do not disclose
the NDA?
agreement. Yes.
Oh.
And so that's why they're saying that he might be the leaker, because if he didn't sign it, then obviously he's not loyal. That loyalty bullshit.
But you can sign an NDA and be a filthy liar. Like, that's what you do. It's not like, NDAs are like, I don't know, what's the curse from Harry Potter where if you break it, you die? Like,
didn't he make all of his ex-wives or
Oh,
wives?
yeah.
Oh yeah.
they all
His
signed NDAs.
previous wives all had to sign that. Do not disclose any information that you
would be
had
saying
from our
Trump.
Yeah.
Yes, Trump made it.
President Trump
That's why-
did make all his previous wives.
But see,
Which
that's
is why
why
you didn't hear anything
do
from
not
Marla
discuss.
Maples or from Ivanka.
Well, she
Right.
tried to. Marla Maples came out and tried to, and then they hit her with a fucking cease and desist.
Right.
So
wouldn't it be interesting? Can a subpoena, and none of us are actual lawyers, Jordan's as close as we have, can a subpoena override that NDA?
That's a really good question, but probably not.
So-
I don't think it can. It depends on how much
Because I
they
think that
want to
would be
pursue
interesting.
it. And I think it would depend on the level.
So if and we're going off on a different tangent here, but if Jared Kushner did the Non-Disclosure Act,
Right.
and even though he gets subpoenaed by the Intel Committee, can he or can he not answer all of the questions? Can he or can he not? I mean, like, so is that why some of these people cannot answer all of the questions that they're being asked?
So does an NDA trump what you're being asked to by the federal government?
Yes, that's what I'm trying to get to.
That's a very good question.
That's an incredibly good question.
So, I mean, so now you have Anthony Scaramucci, and who has said a lot of things about Reince Priebus, and to the big thing is that he is the leaker, and like Dana said, I doubt that he is the leaker.
Nobody believes that. I really don't believe anybody.
I think
believes
there's
no, because Priebus was a huge Trump supporter. I mean, like, he was like the first guy that jumped onto the Trump train.
Kind of feel
wasn't he?
Well,
bad.
actually, no. The first person to jump on the Trump train was Jeff Sessions. And
right.
imagine that. I mean, talk about the next person in the Trump administration to get so much backlash.
I have to admit, I kind of feel bad for both Sessions and Priebus. Priebus
Oh my
gets
God.
fired on the
So
tarmac,
as a
basically.
liberal, as a Jew, as a person, a decent human being in general, do you have this weird guilt feeling for why you feel bad for Sessions?
Yeah, kind of. Actually, I do. You know,
I mean, like, I
as
feel
a
bad for him.
white non-Jew, you know, I do actually, because you know we all know that Jeff Sessions is very well a racist. You know, it's very well documented,
bigot.
and the fact that he's kind of being treated really shitty by Trump, I think that it's really sad that I kind of feel
bad
I mean,
for him.
he's treated so bad because
they want
him to quit because he recused himself from this whole Russia deal.
Well, and at first it was like, why would you do that? You know, I mean, doesn't that seem stupid? You know, but I mean, I think Trump was really on that. Well, you recused yourself. You can't be part of that. That's a good thing.
Jordan.
At first. And now it's
it's
that
like,
that Mueller is getting closer by getting his financial records and everything
Right.
else, that this train is starting to come towards the end, hopefully. And they're starting to pull all these records.
Right. I kind of feel bad for him now because, and I shouldn't, because he's not exactly the nicest human being on the planet, and he's not a great
he's
record.
awful.
And
He's a terrible racist Keebler elf.
And like within days Keebler elf.
Now he did
He
have
wanted to, but he wanted to. Within days, he was trying. Even after the attacks, he was trying to, say that gays don't apply when it comes to the Discrimination Act.
If you have a chance, you should look online where Stephen Colbert does a whole bit where he portrays Jeff Sessions as a Keebler elf cookie.
But I mean, Jeff Sessions. I mean, many people in the Senate really, really respected him, and one of them happened to be Lindsey Graham. And this is what Lindsey Graham actually had to say about this.
I'm 100% behind Jeff Sessions. The chairman of the Judiciary Committee sent a pretty chilling tweet yesterday. There will be no confirmation hearing for a new Attorney General in 2017. If Jeff Sessions is fired, there will be holy hell to pay. Any effort to go after Mueller could be the beginning of the end of the Trump presidency, unless Mueller did something wrong.
Okay, so I mean that was like huge. Chuck Grassley saying, "Hey, if Trump gets rid of Sessions, the Judiciary Committee will not appoint another
within 2017." So even
allow the appointment.
Yeah,
so,
and it's only almost August 1st. It'll be August 1st.
But so then it goes to, so even if the House committee doesn't allow it, it could go to a recess appointment, correct?
Hey,
it all depends. It really depends on the mood with how they're treating Trump.
Because I think the only person that can really stop that is McConnell. But see, then I'm also confused on that, because it said that the minority leader. The minority leader
at the time, from the last time, when there was discussion that that Obama would actually appoint someone during a recess, and to battle against that, the minority whip actually stayed behind during the recess and was actually able to reconvene the Senate, and that would then take it out of recess and not allow President Obama at that time to be able to make a recess appointment for the Supreme Court.
Right. So it just takes one. But is it? So it doesn't necessarily, because somebody on Twitter said no. It ends up in McConnell's hands. It has to be McConnell that allows the pro forma. But then somebody else said, no, because the minority leader can also do the same thing. So I guess I'm not 100% sure on
Right.
who can allow it and who can't.
First of all, when did we start doing...
Why are we being so asshole about everything?
Well, it's not even that. Why did we start... When did we start doing official business by tweet? You know?
That's very true.
And when it comes down to that...
Because the White House said we're going to do official business by tweet.
Right. They did say that anything that comes out official by Trump or by the White House is official tweet when it comes out.
Well, we know that they clearly don't go over that with other departments.
Well, they do not, because we found out this week when they announced that transgender troops will not be
right.
allowed.
And the Pentagon was like, wait, what?
They're like, whoa.
Yeah, the Joint Chiefs of Staff were like, wait a second.
It wasn't just
General Mattis is actually on vacation.
There was
when he comes
the whole
back.
entire Pentagon was like, what the fuck?
Well,
we
and they
did not do this.
They don't consider that official. It wasn't an
Right.
official thing that was handed down. It was just Trump tweeting.
So that makes that actually, now that you say that,
And the
now that you say that actually has me curious, because if the rest of us have to take the White House tweets, be it through Trump's personal
Twitter.
tweet or the presidential tweet, we have to take that as official word from the
White
it makes me
House.
sick to say it. Thank you, White House, because I can't say it the other way.
Well, here's the thing.
Then
the
why is it that the Pentagon doesn't have to?
Okay, I'm going to explain that. The best way to do that is the Joint Chiefs of Staff actually get their orders from General Mattis.
Right.
And the president saying this to the military doesn't make it so. It has to go to General Mattis and then go down the chain of command.
So Trump would have to tell Mattis.
Right, and Mattis is actually on vacation. He's actually in recess right now.
And he's not going to take it from a tweet.
And he's not going to take it from a tweet.
Oh, hell no.
So Mattis has to actually come back from vacation and then alert the Joint Chiefs of Staff of the decision. And the question is Mattis because they've asked Mattis if President Trump actually gives you an order that violates the law, and
well, that was in his confirmation hearing when they asked
will
that.
you stand up to him? And he said he would.
Well, and the thing is that the large percentage of Americans don't agree with it.
Well,
don't agree
and
with
then
it.
that raises another question. How are we supposed to follow those orders exactly as they're given down from the White House when half of us are blocked?
So you know what?
Well, that came up this week too.
Right.
Federal court said
That's
you
true.
cannot block a citizen from, if you're an official, you can't block them from your official account. So, and I believe it was official, or is it any account? I believe it's your official Twitter
I think
account.
yeah.
Or any social media account. So, hey, Nima, not Nima, you should be good to go soon. Except that I believe that Bevin is fighting it.
Yeah, he is one of the ones that are fighting it.
Yes.
Of fucking course he is.
Fuck Bevin.
No.
Anyways.
We can't go
Never
through a
mind.
podcast without hearing fuck Bevin.
Fuck Bevin.
So some of the other things that have been happening, like we said, we are celebrating the defeat of
Oh my God. So
The
let me
repeal-
explain this.
Semi-defeat?
the semi-defeat.
Okay, but let me explain this, because even now there are people that are still asking, but we thought that they can't keep bringing it up. Once it's been defeated as a bill, it can't be brought up again. You're right. It cannot be brought up again. It's just like being tried, on a murder charge twice. You can't do it.
However,
The thing with this particular health care bill, specifically the skinny
repeal.
Skinny
repeal.
So the skinny repeal, the reason that the Congress, or that the Senate specifically, went into this, they went into the debate. They had to vote to see if they could go and debate the actual ACA healthcare bill, correct?
Right.
So the reason they did that was so that they could add amendments to said bill. And basically what those amendments were going to do was repeal each and every one of the major, what do you call it? The major
major parts of the bill.
Major parts of the bill. Thank you. So the reason that it isn't totally dead and it doesn't fall under the guidelines of once you've killed the bill, you can't kill it again or you can't bring it up again, is that it was an amendment. Each one of those things that they brought up on that health care bill was an amendment, not a full-out repeal.
Right.
Because they knew that a full-out repeal wasn't going to happen, that would not pass. So that's also why it had to be the 51 votes, not the 60. Because Planned Parenthood, there's no way.
That required 60, right?
That required 60. And credit to Bernie Sanders on this one for pointing all of it out. Because I think if he hadn't pointed it out in parliamentarian procedure,
right,
that they would have tried to shove it through, which then I don't even know the chaos that would have happened.
Trump keeps tweeting that everything requires just a majority.
Okay.
Majority.
So in his tweets, he said something about the bailouts for Congress. What the hell is he talking about? Does anybody have any clue what the hell he's talking about?
Clue.
I have to tell you, I don't follow him just because he irritates the shit out of me.
Follow him.
Now, the glorious thing is like, once this, I mean, we had the Senator McCain going up and just raining on McConnell's parade.
That is the most glorious
video I have to
ever.
tell you that the gasp alone that was given there whenever McConnell voted no was worth it. And I have to tell you, I actually tweeted at him because he irritated the shit out of me earlier this week. And I have to say, I take it back because McConnell, the fact that you came through at the last minute. McCain, I'm sorry. McConnell sucks
will
ass.
never come through.
Yeah, McConnell sucks ass. And I really hope the fact that they're really kind of trying to possibly vote him out as Speaker of the House. Anyway, I have to tell you, I tweeted out about McCain earlier this week, and I really kind of jumped on his ass. But I'm really, really thankful.
I think all of us, I kind of rode McCain's ass on a couple of tweets saying, come on.
Well, it seemed very pay for play because Cindy McCain was given
a job.
She was given a job.
She was given a job.
Is she an ambassador now?
I don't remember what the fuck it was.
Right.
But anyway, the point was she was given something and it seemed very vote.
Right.
Go
this way.
Go this way and your wife gets a job. And so the fact that he held his ground, especially and he waited. Apparently he voted yes before and voted no this time.
He did.
On purpose.
He did that to proceed into this and then basically voted it down.
So
but
John McCain, I take back it.
To watch McConnell afterwards, after the vote was done.
Oh my God.
And I have the actual clip. So this was so heartwarming.
So, Mr. President, this is clearly a disappointing moment. From skyrocketing costs to plummeting choices and collapsing markets, our constituents have suffered through an awful lot under Obamacare. We thought they deserved better. It's why I and many of my colleagues did as we promised and voted to repeal this failed law. We told our constituents we would vote that way. And when the moment came, most of us did. We kept our commitments. We worked hard, and everybody on this side can certainly attest to the fact that we worked really hard.
To keep everybody out.
Yeah, Mitch McConnell wouldn't know what his constituents wanted if they hit him with a fucking baseball bat.
And
I'm about to be just a little bit catty on this.
For the endless amount of time that they spent trying to achieve a consensus to go forward. I also want to thank the President and the Vice President, who couldn't have been more involved and more helpful. So yes, this is a disappointment. A disappointment indeed.
I think the only person it was a disappointment to was McConnell.
Yeah, I know.
So when I said I'm about to be a little catty here, why does, in my mind, he should have a higher, squeakier voice, kind of like Jared Kushner has. I mean, like, every time I hear him talk, it surprises me that he has such a deep, manly voice.
Because he's the old turtle.
Maybe that'll help me. Maybe that visualization will help.
I mean, but for real, though, every time he talks about, our constituents wanted this, I want to, slap him across the damn face.
The only constituents he pays any attention to, and we have since we've really been into the resistance,
Is
of
the
this,
ones that
are the ones that pay big money
to come to see
like,
him.
I mean, like, you know, Chamber of Commerce, those are the only people he paid attention to. If it's a big business owner luncheon, he runs in there and says, "Oh, here I am.
You're my constituents."
You're my constituents." It's like he represents the wealthiest and the business. Not necessarily, your business doesn't have to be a well-funded business. Just if you're a business owner, he wants you.
Now, he did point out some other stuff.
It's over in the House. We thank them as well. I regret that our efforts were simply not enough.
I don't regret it a bit.
Now, imagine many of our colleagues on the other side are celebrating.
Yay!
Why wouldn't you be?
Probably pretty happy about all this.
So are we celebrating? Yes, we are. So we are celebrating.
Well, I think we have every right to celebrate the ACA. You know, I mean, we can't. The fact that so many people would go uninsured is just unconscionable. You know, I mean.
And one of the things he did finally get out of all of this is so when it finally defeated, he was able to turn to the other side and say, okay, now we're going to see what they want to bring to the table.
Holy shit, you mean work together?
Yeah, I know.
What
Imagine that.
Hey, we woke up in Bizarro land.
Yeah, I know. Finally.
That's what we should have
Actually,
been done this
probably
whole
normal
time.
land.
It's trying to work together with both sides to make something that's reasonable. And, I mean, nobody's going to get everything that they want. We all need to admit that from the very beginning.
Right, and that was the case with Obamacare. When
Right,
you
because
had
they've
all
said
these
like there's
amendments.
like 150 some odd amendments.
I thought it was 180 something.
Yeah, it was
that
a huge
the
number.
Republicans were allowed to make, and
So
the Democrats
somewhere
haven't been allowed to make anything.
They've not even been allowed to be at the table for the writing of it. Like, I mean, like, okay, so the joke was that McConnell and a couple of guys wrote it on a napkin during lunch for this last.
Well,
The
it's
last
scary
hurrah.
as shit that they're trying to pass something that no one's had the chance to read.
Yeah, they released it 1 hour before they were supposed to vote on it.
Oh, sure, let's vote, because we all know that you can read an entire healthcare act in an hour.
It was 8 pages, hun.
Yeah, so I mean, it was ridiculous.
8 pages, and like they said, like only actually 3 of those pages were actual
considered bill
stuff.
Yeah.
Well, so the rest of it was probably pork, I'm guessing.
Yeah. So
Hi, let's build a road in Wisconsin.
So
Well,
the
and
big
then-
excuse of why
Like
that did not,
signature pages and
why
shit
that
like
skinny repeal did not go through. McCain actually spoke out afterwards, and the big thing he said is, "Well, I couldn't trust the folks in the House to actually be able to put together
Right, because
something."
they tried to make Speaker Ryan and somebody else tried to make a deal with McCain and Murkowski and Collins, and they said, well, we're not actually going to pass this skinny bill. If you guys just pass it, that way it'll look good, and I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, it was ridiculous, and so there's no way that.
And they didn't trust them. And would you?
Right. I wouldn't trust anybody in the House. That any of the Republicans. I mean, granted, there are some decent people in the House. I mean, we have Al Franken. We have a lot of people and that are really trustworthy. But it seems like the leadership right now, the folks who are in charge, are very untrustworthy. So
name one. Okay. So with the exception of the Democrats, and maybe not even all of the Democrats, because I hate to say, oh, the Democrats are all trustworthy.
No, they're not.
But I don't think they are. And I think that not all of the Republicans, props to Murkowski and Collins.
Yeah,
right?
In the Senate, yeah, those two.
And even,
really
as much
took
as
a lot
I
of
hate to
courage.
admit it, and I'm sure as much as Dana hates to admit it, McCain, but some of these people are actually listening to their constituents. And the people that are listening to their constituents are the only ones that I just barely, almost completely trust.
Well, and Murkowski, so people are saying
She's
that she's
a
got to watch her back. But you know
badass
what?
woman.
There's no way in hell she's going to lose her reelection when it comes around. She ran as a write-in. She
As
lost
an
to the
independent.
primary.
Yeah, she lost in the
She
primary.
did.
Wow, that's
run
kind of
as
impressive.
as a write-in candidate.
I thought it was independent,
No,
but it doesn't matter.
write-in.
She the one
And
from
won.
Maine?
She's
No,
the one
she's the one
from
from
Alaska.
Alaska.
The one
Okay.
Trump is now threatening.
The one,
There
yes.
is nothing that they could do to that woman.
So I guess what I didn't understand is how did she lose in the primary and then still blast it out
Come
of the
on,
park?
the fact that somebody won as a write-in, since when does that happen in the
Yeah.
United States anymore? I mean,
Even as an independent.
It's
I mean,
really,
like,
really freaking impressive.
it is
Yeah.
because I don't know if she had been a senator before.
Yeah, she was an incumbent senator, and basically the Tea Party ran really
That's right,
hard
it was a Tea
against
Party
her.
person, yes.
And they
she kicked
defeated
their
her
ass.
in the actual primary, but then she was able to get enough signatures to be a write-in candidate. Okay, so we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk some North Korea. Where, I mean,
North
things
Korea,
are getting
man,
kind of
they
scary.
are off their fucking rocker.
So we'll be right back.
From Studio 1A in Snowflake Village. You're listening to Pod Bless Kentucky.
And we're back, and we're going to be talking about different things that happened. The big thing just happened today. You have North Korea.
Actually, didn't the test happen yesterday?
It happened yesterday. But
It happened yesterday, but it's hit the news cycles today.
And the bigger parts of it, how far those missiles.
Well, it went to Japan, correct?
It landed in the Japanese waters.
Japanese sea.
Right.
But I'm not sure how. I guess I didn't pay any attention to how close actually to Japan or any other landmass.
Enough for people to be shitting their pants. I mean, this is something that's pretty big.
Well, so from what I understand from CNN, talking about shit in your pants, if they were on a flat surface trajectory, on a different trajectory than what
was planned.
That missile it had the bulk behind it to actually reach Boston. That's according to CNN.
Wow. I mean,
well, I know that the week before they had said that they could send a missile to mainland Hawaii in about 8 minutes. So, I mean, I can't even imagine how long it would take to get to Boston, but the fact that they could do something that long range is terrifying.
Fucking scary.
I mean, that could easily hit us. You know, if it can hit Boston, it can easily hit us. I mean, not that we would be a high priority target.
Yeah, fortunately,
but
we live in the
actually,
middle
we
of the
would
United
be a
States.
high priority target. Do you guys know why?
Fort Knox?
No.
Richmond.
So what you might not know, Dana, because you haven't lived here long
I'm
enough.
not from Kentucky, y'all. 5 years here.
Richmond is actually a depository for Agent Orange.
yep,
Am I correct?
for a number of
Most of the nuclear,
I wish
like
y'all
the
had.
waste
I
kind
wish
of
we
stuff.
had like a Snapchat
Yeah, most of the
Dana's
waste
face right
from
now.
the biological weapons. We have a biological weapons incinerator in Madison
Somehow
County.
I can picture this conversation. Hey, we've got all this shit. What do we do with it? Send it to
Fuck
Kentucky.
it. Put it in Richmond.
Well,
It's
So,
kind of.
so it's
yeah.
sitting there and it's waiting to be disposed of.
actually,
That's the disposal.
That's the
it.
disposal site. That is.
But so I mean, some of
Yeah,
that
it
stuff
is
is going to
kept there.
sit there for a little bit before. I mean,
So if you ever drive through Richmond, you will notice
these little
there's
signs.
the signs all over the place that say like Zone P or Zone 15 or something.
I'm
like
feeling
that.
really good about not sending my kid to EKU right at the moment. So
I know, right?
Well, but now, think about that also. If something were to hit Richmond,
we're what,
it's
25 miles away?
Yeah, we're only
If
like
that.
25 miles away, so you're fucked.
But
Well, hold on. We'd be fine as far as the initial blast.
Well, but the point is
fallout would
that
be-
honestly, we're still
We're
not
fucked.
we're still not the first priority of something they're going to
Very
hit.
true.
It's going to be a large major city like New York or Boston
Or Washington.
or Washington or LA.
Or LA.
Well, okay, but
Yeah.
now, guys, that was my question: is why would CNN point out Boston of all of the places?
I think it's just because it's so far East Coast.
Well,
They're
yeah,
trying to
it's
go as far as they could possibly
Eastern
go.
Seaboard
Yeah.
area. So
Fallout
I
4
I
did
don't
take
think
place
that
in
Boston was specific. You know, it's just it's a little
Okay.
bit further away than New York is actually. So
Right.
Because, so my son, he's really into all of this military conspiracy, all of this stuff.
There.
And for the longest time, we used to laugh at him and be like, "Oh, this is all just conspiracy."
the
bullshit.
older C.
So
Yeah.
we thought, right?
Yeah.
The oldest C. But what we have come to find out is, holy shit, maybe he's actually right. And there's been actually several things that I've had to eat my words and be like,
sure,
you were right, son. That's freaking the fuck out of me.
Yeah, it's scaring a lot of people that this is actually happening.
But so when we were talking, because I was talking about the THAAD missiles, the THAAD missiles, which is basically it's the same defense system that Israel has. It's an Iron Dome. Are you familiar with their Iron Dome?
I'm not.
So it basically is multiple intercept points. So if you think of an Iron Dome, and you think of, a missile coming in from out of said Iron Dome.
Okay.
We have missiles that can intercept it
right.
before it would hit.
I do understand that part, yes.
Okay, so Israel has that, and it basically covers their whole entire country.
Are we capable of covering all of ours?
No.
Okay.
So when I was discussing this with him, because I know that, he's got to be on, every list out there, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, my God, there's no way. As soon as they start rounding people up, my door is going to get knocked in.
But anyways, he said, because I asked specifically about Boston, because I thought that was a strange point.
Right.
I still find that a strange point to pick out by CNN. There's got to, Philadelphia. Why wouldn't you have picked out Philadelphia? Whatever. Something.
It's still a little further east, Boston is. So,
is it? I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's close enough to
close enough that it's not.
Yeah.
But it's not Washington, D.C. So when I asked him, I said, so these THAAD missiles, can they, how movable are they? And he said, well, they're not really that movable. So a THAAD missile would be set to defend
a particular
Washington, D.C.
Right.
And that maybe 50, 60-mile radius. I'm
right.
pulling numbers out of my ass on that one. But it would not be set to protect Boston. Well, and I said, well, how long would it take? He's like, it is possible to move each one of these. But you would have to have more than an 8 to 10 minute warning.
Well, and the thing is that we're how much larger than Israel is, in terms of landmass, so we got a lot bigger territory to cover.
We do, and we don't know, any...
I don't know how long it would take a long-range missile to get here.
But would it matter? So think about this in just horrifically general terms. So let's just say they fired a missile and it just plain hit. We don't know. Maybe they're going to aim for Idaho, some back-ass-word place in Idaho.
Well, all of the missile silos are in, Nevada and Idaho and Wyoming, places where people don't live.
And South Dakota. North Dakota.
Places where people don't live.
Okay, we would like to remind everybody that these are only our opinions and they are not facts necessarily. So sorry, Idahoans.
If you're listening to us from Idaho and be like, wait, what? There's missiles in my backyard.
Actually, I can totally attest to that, but we'll continue
No, we'll keep going. So this has been happening, but there's also, if we're going from one dictator to another, Vladimir Putin has been once again. So
let's start out at the beginning, though, because our House and Senate unanimously put through a bill that hard-ass sanctions on Russia for the meddling and for whatever else is going on, basically, with our government. Correct?
Correct.
And it was unanimous to the point of there were at least, 93-2 or something like that? It was basically unanimous. So basically they have the votes that even if Trump says,
we're going to remove the sanctions.
We're not going to do these sanctions. I'm not going to sign this. It's veto proof.
Right.
He can't do
So
it.
there are way too many people who are, and it is passed both the House and the Senate now.
Right.
So
it is veto proof.
Right, and Putin is not happy about
He's
this.
pissed.
Well, I have to say, though, let's give credit where credit is due. Congress has stood up and said this is obviously a problem. Russia is an issue. We are not going to cooperate with them.
They are not our friends.
They are not our friends. I think that that's a large statement for them to make, considering how lenient and accepting Trump has been of Russia.
Trump has no desire to badmouth
Yeah,
Russia.
I mean,
at
he's
all.
listening. He's actually listening to Vladimir Putin over our intelligence agency. And a good example of this is Al Franken actually spoke with some of our intelligence agents, and this is what he had to actually say. So it was very
Just
an interesting
last week,
discussion.
The newly minted White House Communications Director, Anthony Scaramucci, appeared on CNN. He said this, quote, "You know, somebody said to me yesterday, I won't tell you who, that if the Russians actually hacked this situation and spilled out those emails, you would never have seen it. You would have never had any evidence of them," meaning that they're super confident in their deception skills and hacking. Asked just who that somebody was, and Mr. Scaramucci admitted that it was President Trump, who had explained that if the Russians had, quote, hacked the situation, that the United States would not have evidence of that hacking because of the Russian superior intelligence capabilities. Do either of you know where President Trump got that idea?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Well, I'll tell you. President Trump believes that to be true because Vladimir Putin told him so. The New York Times later confirmed that Putin was the source of that information. The Times reported that President Trump emerged from his meeting with Putin to, quote, tell his aides that the Russian president had offered that Moscow's cyber operators are so good at covert computer network operations that if they had dipped into the DNC systems, they would not have been caught, unquote.
Okay, I will tell you, so right now at this time, every year in Las Vegas, there's a large conference that goes in that's called DEF CON. This is largely hackers and people who operate in that particular, realm.
Oh, yeah, I saw something about that.
Yeah, at DEF CON, they managed to hack into voting machines within 90 minutes.
So, and it wasn't just any voting machines. I mean, like so the first set they hacked into were the easier, because just about every state has different kind of
right.
voting machines, right? And so they hacked into like 6 or 7 different versions of these voting machines.
Right.
And 90 minutes, I think, was the longest.
Right, that was the longest it took. I know someone who goes to DEF CON every year and who participates. And, in regards to that kind of stuff, there are what they call white hats and black hats in terms of people who operate on the good and the bad. And there are people who are gray hats, that are kind of in the middle. And it doesn't really matter. They manage, no matter what side you're on, they manage to get into those machines quite quickly compared. So imagine how long Russia had to set that up and
they've already proven that hackers hit South Carolina machines.
We know, like every 5 seconds or something.
It was it wasn't just every 5 seconds. It was like so many times every second. I mean, it was...
Well, and I mean, this is the technology we're dealing with. I took this opportunity to hop onto the hashtag, and the voting machines run on Windows XP.
Oh, Jiminy Christmas.
Oh, wow.
I mean...
I
can probably hack Windows XP.
What are we up to? Windows 10 now?
Yeah, Windows 10. So, I mean...
Oh, my God.
There's
Microsoft.
a true case that... And as Senator Franken actually keeps going into this conversation with these two gentlemen from the intelligence agencies, and he says, this is something that actually happens. Do you believe James Comey when he says that they attacked? And they agreed. So these are 2 more areas of intelligence agencies that have unanimously, like all 17 of these intelligence agencies have said, but now these are 2 more people on record of saying, yes, the Russians did interfere with our elections.
Oh, but, Putin telling Trump, it didn't happen is enough.
Exactly. I mean, like, that... So that should disturb the larger percent, not only of Americans, but of the Congress. The man is believing what Putin tells him, bold-faced lie, as compared to what every intelligence agency
Well, I largely believe that Congress probably does believe what's coming out of the intelligence agency rather than Trump.
Well,
I don't believe that
but
the
why aren't
regular
they doing
person
anything?
necessarily
Right.
does.
Okay, so Trumpansies are not going to believe it. But the majority...
50% of Trumpansies still believe he won the majority of the election.
And with that said, Allison Leonard and Grimes, keep fighting. Keep fighting. Do
Right,
not
because she did
give
it.
in.
So this was it the Supreme Court or a federal judge said you have every right to ask for those voter registration
That information.
which does indeed include those last 4 digits of the Social Security number. Many people are saying, "Oh no, according to Trump, it doesn't." Yeah, yes, it does.
If you
It
can't,
absolutely does.
there's no way to guarantee that information can stay safe. I mean, and they've actually proven that
Yeah,
most of
because
it is it's unsecured. So screw that. Nobody has to give that information up. I give big props to Secretary Grimes for sticking her ground and saying screw that.
Twice now. She's had to do it twice because they have already asked for it the second time. After that federal judge said, yes, you have every legal right to ask for it, Allison Leonard Grimes said, fuck that shit. You're still not getting it.
I will say that she
Maybe
does
not in
manage
those words.
a turn of a phrase in quite a good way.
Yeah.
Allison does a lovely job when she gets on television of saying like it is. And
There's not enough bourbon in the world.
yeah, she
In
does quite a lovely
Kentucky.
job.
There's
Yeah.
not enough bourbon in Kentucky.
And if you don't know, and you happen to actually be listening to us and not live in Kentucky, there are more barrels of I can't talk. I'm sorry.
Barrels of
of
bourbon.
bourbon here than there are people. So
That's true. So, okay. We have Donald Trump, and of course, he just cannot keep his mouth shut.
Nope.
And he actually had where he spoke in front of a group, and he started talking about
he was in Long Island.
in Long Island.
No, it was in.
Oh.
Wait, which one are we talking
This
about?
is when he
The Slice
spoke,
and Dice?
Yep, the slice and dice
That
of
was in
young
Ohio.
girls.
That was in
That was in
Ohio?
Ohio.
Oh,
wow.
It was in Ohio.
Trump has been very talky this week.
He needs to shut the fuck up.
And so,
luck with that.
so President Trump actually went to Ohio, and he was talking about, once again, immigration and sanctuary cities. And this is what he actually had to say.
And you've seen the stories about some of these animals. They don't want to use guns because it's too fast and it's not painful enough. So they'll take a young, beautiful girl, 16, 15, and others, and they slice them and dice them with a knife because they want them to go through excruciating pain before they die. And these are the animals that we've been protecting for so long. Well, they're not being protected any longer, folks. And that is why my administration is launching a nationwide crackdown on sanctuary cities.
I find this very ironic that this man who owns most of in Mar-a-Lago has requested that you
Like
get
hundred and
Of
some
immigrants, right?
of immigrants
immigrants.
to actually come and work for
Visas.
his
Visas.
visas.
Okay, so he's actually referring specifically to a gang, MS-13, right? And MS-13 has actually come out and said Trump has made,
their gang numbers.
yes, that MS-13 is a gang, and that they have actually, Trump has made them stronger, not, and made them, encourage membership rather than the opposite.
Is
Right.
MS-13 a Latino?
Yes.
Yes.
Just making
Well,
sure.
I mean, okay, that makes sense because if the government is going to come after you, you're going to look for someone way stronger than you. And
Right.
who do you turn to but a gang?
Well, you're right, Jordan, and that is, when
Especially
everybody's
when you-
targeting you and you need safety, and you know that your government isn't going to protect you because you might be an immigrant, you might be illegal, or you might just happen to look the part.
right.
You're going to look for your safety net, and if MS-13 is your safety net,
Well, in hypothetical situation, your house gets broken into, but you're an illegal immigrant, so do you call the police? Fuck no, because they're going to cart your ass off. Instead, you call your local gang member, and they beat the shit out of whoever broke into your house.
And you have to remember, as he pointed out, these are not grown adults. These are young people.
and is there any proof of these young people slicing and dicing little girls?
Well, they use it as what they consider a jump into joining the gang, and there has been documented proof of this initiatory procedure to be part of the gang.
They murder someone?
They don't murder. What they do is they actually they slice them up. They actually cut them to join the gang. Where they actually have scars afterwards. It's not that they're killing them.
No, is that somebody just a random stranger, or is that actually a gang member?
That's a gang member.
So it's like hazing.
Yeah, it's like a hazing kind of thing, but it's to a huge level and an unsafe level.
I mean, it's always been documented that
there's always been a beating.
There's always been a beating or something like that. But this isn't like they're grabbing a random person off the street and slicing them up and letting them go just to prove that they can be badass.
And it's not. And the thing is, they oversimplify this. I mean, it's not like the Sharks and the Jets. I mean, this is something.
But how cool would that be?
But
dance off.
This is this is serious. This is like there are, like we said, people looking for protection.
Right.
And within that area, they'll get protection. They'll get notice if the sheriff's department is actually coming to knock on your door for immigration, or if an ICE agent is circling the community. So therefore, they can actually be working on that within their groups. They can notify each other that danger is actually coming around.
Right. Well, I mean, and in especially largely economically depressed areas, there's going to be more of a network. In terms of, because they're going to protect their own.
They absolutely are not going to, they absolutely do not believe that the police are there to protect them.
You can hardly blame them. Yeah.
The sad thing about all this is he's putting the blame on sanctuary cities. I mean, most of the people, most illegal immigrants, they're not just crossing the border. These are folks who have been here for a while.
Right.
And their visas have expired. The same visas that Mar-a-Lago is asking for more and more immigrants. These people who are working jobs that most people in the United States do not want because of the low pay, the large amount of work, and most people who want these immigrants to come in, they understand because we have a whole different system in the way we pay people.
Right.
And within the Mexican community, within the Latino communities, most of those people are paid on per item.
Right.
So, like, when you see people who work out in the fields, they work twice as hard as an American.
Well,
and I know that's difficult for a lot of people to hear that
they work twice as hard with not even a third of the protection that an American citizen has.
The whole immigration thing that we have, the way we have it set up now, has already impacted farming and produce. In terms of California, they normally leave on the average of about a little over $4 million rots in the field every year. And so far, they've had over $13 million of produce rot in the fields this year because they haven't been able to get the workers in from Mexico to be able to harvest everything, which means, everybody in the world, your produce prices are going to go up soon. They haven't yet, but they're going to go up soon.
Especially come this winter.
Right. You're going to pay more for avocados and,
orange juice.
Oranges, everything that you would normally get, especially from California, but not just California, everywhere.
Yep.
Stuff is going, to waste in the fields, which, I mean, for somebody who really has an issue just in general with people suffering from food insecurity, kills me that there's food that other people could come take advantage of it because there's no one there to harvest it. What are you going to do?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean,
Americans are not going to go work in a field. We're just not going to do it.
Right.
I mean,
we can't keep up. We just can't keep up.
Physically, we can't.
Well, not only that, but are they going to pay us more than $2 an hour?
Right.
That's it exactly. So I don't know if Dana's ever worked in a field. I know Jordan hasn't worked in a field. I don't think Tom's ever actually. I have worked in the fields. I have hoed the beans. I have fucking detasseled corn. I hate every motherfucking second of it. So, like, specifically, when we worked in the cornfields, and this is in the cornfields in Michigan, and you're detasseling corn, you start at one end, and this is back in the 90s, maybe late 80s, And so the laws maybe have gotten better,
Not really.
but I don't think so. So we're talking fields that are about a mile long, because a block
Right.
in the field, is a mile. It's a mile block. So you're talking a 1 mile field. You got a glass of water, and I do mean like a little Dixie cup of water, in the very beginning of that field, right? And then you had to walk a mile in the 90-degree heat or higher, in the blazing sun, picking the tops of the corn tassels, and then you had to get to the other end, turn around onto the next lane, or the next line, go down it until the truck was at the other end. So you basically had to do 2 miles before before you got another Dixie cup of water.
Yeah.
And that's how American kids were treated.
So, I mean, a good example of this, if you've
Think
never
about that for a minute. And you didn't
have
have
a
toilets
clue.
out there. We didn't have toilets out there.
That's why
if you
Ebola is
have,
bad.
if you've ever had a chance, watch the 30 Days Morgan Spurlock episode where he went and worked in an orange field, where he was given the bag and he was paid for the amount of oranges that he actually picked. And I mean, it's astonishing because you only have so much time to get so much done.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't do it, they're
They
going to
fire
find
you.
someone who can.
Right.
They fire you. Yeah. And I mean, like, that was even true for us. So, like, when we were hoeing beans, even, if you didn't get your 3 rows done within a certain, I don't remember.
Yeah, because
the amount
it
of
has
time.
to come off the field. It can't be.
It has to come off of the field. It can't wait. The pickles were not pickles. The cucumbers were more time sensitive. And let me just tell you all, that was a bitch. You lay on the ground in the dirt. They now have little belts that you can lay on, and they move you. But you're throwing cucumbers over your shoulders into buckets.
It really makes you understand a little bit better, and it's hard as as a white person, as an Anglo-American, in terms of understanding what people like Cesar Chavez and everybody were fighting for.
Exactly.
Is just trying to get some fair treatment for, people of color who were out there, largely, obviously Hispanics out there who were picking, migrant workers who were helping to harvest everything.
And as I got older, so now being in the community I was in, I lucked out, because once I got to a certain age, instead of being in the field, I actually got to work with the kids of the migrant workers, and we would teach them how to read and how to write, and we would sit on the back of the trucks with popsicle sticks and let the kids suck on the popsicle sticks while, those plastic long, what do you call them, icy pop
the
thingies?
ice pipes.
Icy pops, yeah.
So there was an advantage to hitting that 16, 17-year mark was, oh, good Lord, I don't have to be in the field anymore.
Right, but I mean, on the other side of that, it was the only way for some people to get educated too.
It definitely was the only way. So in my mind, there were heartbreaking moments, because when we would pull up early in the morning in vans, minivans or trucks or whatever we had going out there, the actual teachers would say, "Okay, everybody," and they would yell, and that's when everybody would come pouring out of these like
very
Astro
small
vans, like minivans,
small vehicles, and look like
and
a
you
clown
would have,
car.
It looked like a clown car, and there were like 15 people all crammed into this little crowd, into this little. Well, it wasn't little for 4 people, but for 10, 15 people there, and they would come climbing out of there, and the little kids would just come running up to you and immediately start asking you for the popsicle sticks. And and it took me a couple of times to think about this. Those popsicle sticks, number 1, were their breakfast.
Yeah.
Number 2, that's the only treat they ever got.
Well, and I hope that people understand that the large majority, the overwhelming majority of people who are not here legally, are not the people out there that are slicing and dicing beautiful young girls.
Also, that's very creepy. That's the way he. What if they were ugly, middle-aged women? Would we not care?
But
Does it
it's
matter?
all about the rhetoric he's trying to portray. But
those families had no horrible intentions.
No, they're just trying to provide for their families and provide a better life for their children. And, and the fact that he chooses isolated incidents or, even made up crap in his own mind to try to put the fear, in people that, it's just kind of ridiculous. I mean, I actually, and when I read too that MS-13 said, guess what, dude, you're helping us, not hurting us.
Right.
Like, maybe you should take a cue from that and actually do some research into it and see what are you doing to play into this rather than helping.
Wasn't there also at one point, and this is going back a ways and kind of half off subject, but wasn't there also a point his ads were helping with Al Qaeda during the campaign or something?
During the campaign,
his nasty
It
rhetoric.
wasn't exactly Al Qaeda, but it was the
ISIS.
Yeah,
ISIS
was using him as a recruiting tool.
Yes,
and
that's
his
what it was.
rhetoric gets crazier and crazier. And he also spoke with some police officers at a police roundup, police officer roundup, where
this was the one in Long Island.
Yeah,
right. And again, it does not help the immigrant community. It doesn't help the people of color.
Basically, he was, once again, just as he did in his rallies, he was inciting violence, but this time he was inciting police to commit violence. So
he basically told them to rough up their, to rough up their suspects and
they were cheering. And in the beginning, all we saw was all of these police officers in the background going, yay, 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 while he's saying, don't bother putting your hand over their head. Just shove them in the paddy wagon. If they, get bloodied, who cares, kind of thing.
I will say,
I wonder if he'll think that when
he
comes
gets
the time
shoved
when he
in?
gets shoved in.
I will give major props to the NYPD who said, yeah, no, that's not okay,
But is that the only PD who has stepped up?
I have no earthly idea. I know that they came out and said that's not how we treat suspects.
I think a couple Midwestern ones have said, like I think one in Minnesota and places that aren't, big populated centers of living,
So, I mean, his rhetoric is continuing.
God, he just needs to shut the fuck up.
So,
well,
we can only hope.
But it's super easy to be a conservative because it's absolutes. Do this, rough them up. Do you know what I mean? There's no explanation behind it. He says okay, and everybody's like, oh well,
Well, the president said that.
Yeah, exactly. We'll do that. I mean,
it's kind of, we live in a bizarre world today. But we have had our celebrations this week, and it's been somewhat a good week for.
It's been an interesting week, that's for sure.
Yeah. So
at least healthcare is momentarily
until tomorrow.
Probably. Yeah, until tomorrow.
We have a momentary reprieve.
Yeah. So, what else is? We have the calendar coming up this week. What all do we have coming up in the near future?
The only one I know for absolute sure is there's going to be a small celebration at Blue Stallion tomorrow night, 6 to 9. Because as the resistance, we need to take care of ourselves. We need to take a great big deep breath and say,
and that's on the 31st, right?
That's tomorrow, the 31st. We need to celebrate. We need to say, we've at least won this battle.
And in that lines, I read an article today, and I wish I could remember what it was. I feel bad about that. That basically said, this with healthcare, it is the resistance. The resistance is what made the difference. Yes, it was from Time Magazine. Thank you.
Magazine.
That came out and said, we made a difference. Yelling and screaming and calling and writing and doing all of those things made a difference.
Indeed.
And so, I know this gets very time consuming and tiring and exhausting, and you get very disheartened a lot. Believe me, I feel that way sometimes. I know that Sonny and Tom do too. But we do need to take the opportunity to celebrate these victories when we get them because A, they seem to be few and far between, and B, they matter. You matter. This work matters. So
right, and so the plan of Monday Nights for Rights this particular Monday night. I'm not actually going to be there. Tom will be there, but what we do intend to do is write thank you cards, as part of.
I'm guessing
the
to McCain and to the two female senators.
We are absolutely going to write to Murkowski, especially Murkowski. I mean, she got threatened by Trump, right? He threatens her that he's going to shit somehow on Alaska. I don't know how he planned on doing it. But he plans on shitting on Alaska because she did what her constituents
If he could
want.
aim that towards Sarah Palin, that'd be awesome.
Right? I wonder how Sarah Palin feels about all of that.
Yeah, especially
Don't
after
ask
McCain.
that. She'll come out of the woodwork
That's
again.
true. That's true. The less we hear
Sarah,
from
please
her,
stay home. Please stay home. Please stay home.
Oh my God, please call in. You sound like fun. It would be like a mouse getting played with by the kitty cats.
No, she can stay in her hole.
All right. But anyways, yes, those three most definitely are getting thank you notes. And I think they're well deserved.
I do too. I think it takes a lot to stand up and say, no, this isn't okay.
Especially as women.
As
because
women.
when you look at the statistics, the number of men as compared to the number of women in the Senate, that took guts.
Well, and the other thing, too, is that McCain got a lot of kudos, and he was the deciding vote, which is great. But those women stood up before he did and said, no, this isn't okay.
And they stood up, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. I mean,
No, they did. They stood their ground. And, there have been some other senators who have come out after the fact and said, they're right, this is a bad idea, which is great. If they could actually do that the next time this comes around, because it's not going to go away, y'all. It's coming back.
It is going to come back.
Probably tomorrow.
Different form.
Yep. But we'll enjoy our time today.
Yeah,
and
take it while we got it.
And we're going to celebrate tomorrow night. Come bring your beer money. I'm hoping that I can get Dana and maybe myself even to make some cookies, and we'll find something that pairs well with beer. I don't know if we can find anything.
I will tell you, too, if they do have an excellent sandwich place there that you can get sandwiches at the Stallion, too.
So, all right. Well, that does it for this week. I'd like to thank Dana. I'd like to thank Sunny and for Jordan.
Wherever she went.
So
she flew away.
All right. See you guys next week.